everybody. In this video, I'm going to talk about an incredible experience that I had a couple years ago down in Washington, D.C. And I learned about the epidemic of loneliness. I learned about someone that was so honest about their ego and compassion, and also the beauty of meditation. So I went down to DC. It was my first trip after COVID. Sri Sri was flying in from India. So I went over to see down there. So the talk went on, and usually, to be honest, when Sri Sri's doing a talk with other people, I don't really like it. I just wait for the meditation part. But I was captivated by this talk because the Surgeon General of the United States was there, Dr. Vivek Murthy, and he was just so honest about what he learned about how lonely people were. And then beside him was a famous neurosurgeon, Dr. Doty. And he was like, yeah, I had a ton of money and I was addicted. And I was never happy till I lost all my money. And I started thinking about other people. And Sri Sri was just at the end smiling. And I wanted to record this video for, well, at least 3 years now since it happened, because I couldn't believe that they were being that honest. And mainly Dr. Doty and Dr. Murthy talked, and Sri Sri was just at the end listening. And at the end, he did a guided meditation that was beautiful. But they were just so honest. So I got their books. I got Dr. Doty's book, Into the Magic Shop, which is about like manifestation. And then he wrote this other book recently called Mind Magic. And it's more about how you can manifest things. But in Into the Magic Shop, Dr. Doty kind of explains how he manifested everything, but then it didn't really work out, because he lost his wife and his children didn't like him. He lost all his money and his house. And there's a really cool story about that he has with like some insects or some rodents or something like that. Anyways, he's just so honest about the fact that like I had it all. I think he had a house in somewhere in California. I think somewhere in like all the stereotypical places, like one in Colorado, one in London. I think he owned an island at some point. Anyways. And he was like, I just was addicted and I lost everything. And then in Mind Magic, he kind of talks about how you can manifest things, but just know that maybe if your prayers aren't getting answered, it's for a reason, maybe a really good reason. And then Dr. Murthy wrote this book Together. And I don't know if I've recommended a book more in the last 3 years since I learned about it, because he's so honest. He was the top student in med school. I think he had suicidal ideations. It was just so nice that these two were being so honest. The Surgeon General and this famous doctor, neurosurgeon, and actually the neurosurgeon, Dr. Doty, he loves, his whole thing is compassion. He's really good friends with the Dalai Lama, and they've set up so many projects together. They work through Stanford. But really at the end of it, after all the titles and the Stanfords and the Dalai Lama and Sri Sri and the Surgeon General, is that these were just two gentlemen that were on stage being so honest and vulnerable about their struggles. And then he learned about, connection. And the book isn't called Loneliness. The book is called Together, because he shows so many ways that we can come together and all the different ways that you can. And then at the end, Sri Sri said, that's why meditation is so important, because we go and we connect with ourselves instead of going, to connect outside. And we've all done that. We go to a party or something and you've never felt so lonely as when you're with 150 people or 250 people, and you're like, oh my God, you feel so horrible. And then other times you can go for a walk in the woods and you feel connected to the whole universe. So and it's called Together because it's not about the loneliness. It's about acknowledging it, but then finding out how you connect. There's a really cool story about men and sheds and working together, and how men don't always talk directly, and how there's been this really huge movement all over the world where men have gotten together, this shed movement. And it started down in Australia when this girl noticed that all the men were in the cars in the parking lot and the women were inside talking, and they'd wait the whole time. So then she set up a shed, and then they started working in there together. They got that connection. And there's all these different ways that people get connection. Ultimately, we want to connect with ourselves, and then we can connect with others. We can't always want it from someone else. We have to get it from ourselves, and then we can offer it to others and find that community that we connect with. It's such a beautiful book. It's so honest. And then Dr. Doty's just hilarious, honestly. He's just like, yeah, well, I had everything and all the things, like check, check, check. Like he was he was the man. in SoCal. And then he was like, it was empty, it was meaningless. And then he found so much more meaning giving back. And of course, he's a neurosurgeon, so he's does fine. His hourly rate is great. He does fine financially, but he's like, it's not about that anymore. So I've always wanted to make a video about that day because it was just so moving. And I was honestly, I was like, these guys are so honest and raw and vulnerable. That's kind of one of the reasons why I'm doing this. It's taken me a couple of years to get here, but I'm quite excited to finally get here to be doing the same thing. And I'm sharing my story, my ups and downs, my struggles, what I've done well in life with, and what I've struggled with, and where I hide and what masks I wear. And because, when I was during COVID, it was a tough time for me. I was going through separation, living in my brother's guest room, and like life wasn't how I was. Didn't really have anything to do, and I was so confused, and there was this worldwide pandemic. And I used to go to YouTube and watch videos, and just people would be honest, and I was raw and about their experiences and how they overcame things. And my life's beautiful now, and I did my steps, and then I took responsibility. I talked about that in the last video. I'll put a link down below for that. And just that there is ups and downs in life, there is struggles. And when two people that are so perceived successful, like Dr. Murthy and Dr. Doty, are so honest about it. And it was so cute to see Sri Sri just smiling at the end, because this is what he's been teaching for 40 plus years now. It's just like, go inside to connect so you can connect with others. Find your way. It's so beautiful. Anyways, the book, there's 3 books. I mean, Sri Sri's got so many books. You can look all his up online. Together by Vivek Murthy, it's amazing. Into the Magic Shop by James R. Doty, MD, A Neurosurgeon's Quest to Discover the Mysteries of the Brain and the Secrets of the Heart. And then Mind Magic, the latest book by Dr. Doty. They're incredible. They're all great books. And it's really beautiful when we admit that, we have issues, and loneliness is such a big one. And it was so cool that Dr. Doty or Dr. Murthy addressed that head on, and really addresses ways in the book that you can be less lonely and you can connect. And that's kind of all of the basis of the work of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. And just to have that beautiful honesty. And that's what this whole channel's about. That's what all the work I'm doing is about, is just being honest, being open, being vulnerable, having patience and kindness with yourself, giving yourself that grace, having some fun, having some laughs, finding where you find that joy in life. It's not all stoicism and, oh, it's so heavy. It's finding that joy as well. But your joy, there's a documentary on a guy who loves buttons. I don't even, if I get a button, I just throw it away, but he loves buttons. And other people have their things that they love. I love professional wrestling. I think everyone I know makes fun of me, except for my buddy in Ontario who I went to university with, who I still text about it. But find your way, and that's what this is all about. So just that's some great resources, some great honesty. So again, subscribe. I'll put that link, hopefully right up there in the corner, for that video on my journey with sobriety. And just be, again, always patient, kind with yourself. Give yourself that grace. Know that if you're struggling with loneliness, you're not the only one. If you have a giant ego, you might be getting your head, you might be getting whacked soon, like Dr. Doty did, but it's for the best. And always just take the second to go inwards to connect, so you can connect with others. And I was teaching a course last week, a breathing class, and one of my co-teachers said, you don't know what people are going through. And for a 5-day program that was 3 hours each day, one of the gentlemen said that's the thing he took away the most. So you don't know what people are going through. Give them patience and kindness and grace. Give yourself the same thing. See how your life goes with that. All right. Have a great one. Enjoy your day, whatever you're doing, or night, wherever you are. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, leave some comments, click on that video. And yeah.